All right, listen up. Your next trip to the grocery store is about to get a lot more stressful. By May 2025, just a few short weeks from now, 10 everyday items you rely on could completely vanish from store shelves. That's not an exaggeration, it's the cold, hard truth. Here's the deal. Global supply chains are falling apart as we speak, catastrophic weather events are hammering crops across the globe, and rising international tensions are shutting down critical shipping routes. If you think this isn't your problem, think again. Prices on some of these items have already skyrocketed by 40% in just the past 2 months. Still think you've got time? You don't. But this video isn't about scaring you into panic buying. It's about being prepared while everyone else is scrambling in chaos. If you know what's coming, you can stay ahead of the mess. I'm going to break down the 10 crucial items that will be nearly impossible to get your hands on, explain why this is happening, and most importantly, show you what you can do about it. Don't wait until you're standing in an empty aisle wondering how this happened. Watch until the very end because the last item on this list is going to hit you hard. You probably have it in your kitchen right now. Trust me, you need to hear this. Stay tuned. Number 1. Rice. Rice isn't just a pantry staple, it's the lifeline food for billions. But come May 2025, that dependable bag of rice might become a rare luxury. Why? Rice production across Asia is spiraling into a crisis, and no one seems ready to admit how bad it's gotten. Thailand, India, and Vietnam, the powerhouses behind over 60% of global rice exports, are all facing catastrophic challenges. Thailand's fields are drowning, literally. Massive flooding wiped out nearly 30% of their crops last season. Imagine entire provinces submerged for weeks, not a grain of rice left to harvest. Then there's India. This country has extended its export ban for another year, holding on to its dwindling stocks to feed its own billion-plus population. That's 40 million tons of rice, completely pulled from the global market overnight. Vietnam? No better. Their Mekong Delta is one of the most fertile rice-growing areas on Earth, but rising sea levels are drawing saltwater further inland, killing crops instantly. Farmers there are seeing fields that have been productive for centuries turn barren in just one season. And while production falls apart, demand is insatiable. Skyrocketing wheat prices are pushing millions to switch to rice. Food banks in the US are reporting that requests for rice are up 85% in just the last year. Meanwhile, China is hoarding all it can. They just purchased a record-breaking 2.5 million tons. The result? Prices worldwide are spiking at a staggering rate, already up 37% since January and climbing. Closer to home, US production isn't going to save us. Drought in California has taken a huge toll, and southern farmers are abandoning rice altogether for more profitable crops like soybeans. If this trend continues, rice shelves may be completely empty or wildly overpriced by May. Here's what you need to do. Stock up now. Properly stored rice can last years in sealed containers with oxygen absorbers. Or consider switching to alternatives like quinoa, farro, or barley. They're easier to store, just as versatile and more affordable while everyone else panics over rice. Don't find yourself staring at empty shelves or paying $100, 0 cents, for a 20 lb bag. Get ahead of it. Number 2. Certain fish species. If fish is a regular part of your meals, brace yourself. Your favorite seafood could be disappearing faster than you think. Wild-caught salmon, tuna, cod. They're all on the chopping block and may be gone by May 2025. The situation is dire thanks to overfishing, warming oceans, and collapsing ecosystems. Take salmon, for example. This isn't just a bad season, it's a disaster. Fishing yields have plunged 35% since January in key areas like Alaska. Warmer ocean temperatures by just a few degrees are forcing salmon to migrate into less hospitable waters, decimating their populations. Generations of fishermen are walking away, selling their boats because they can't scrape together enough to make a living. And it doesn't stop there. Tuna stocks are hitting historic lows, particularly yellowfin tuna. Those numbers have dropped an unbelievable 60% in the Pacific, with fleets returning from months at sea catching barely enough to cover costs. Farmed fish, you say? Not a solution. Most farms rely on wild fish for feed, further aggravating the problem. And cod? Forget about it. Freezers at major retailers are being restocked slower than you can imagine, with some already limiting purchases per customer. Grocery chains are receiving just a fraction of their usual inventory, and prices are surging before our eyes. The issues run deep. Microplastics are now found in nearly every fish species we consume. Combine that with overfishing and polluted breeding grounds, and these populations simply can't recover fast enough. You can't restock the ocean like you can a warehouse shelf. Worse yet, the alternatives won't stay cheap. Tilapia and catfish, while still available, are projected to double in price as consumers scramble to replace pricier, disappearing options. Act now. Buy and freeze your favorite fish while you still can. Canned tuna, frozen portions of salmon, or vacuum-sealed cod fillets. These won't be around much longer, at least not at prices you can afford. And if you're really thinking ahead, try out lionfish or Asian carp. They're invasive species, still plentiful and surprisingly delicious when prepared well. The ocean won't recover in months, and neither will your seafood choices. Prepare wisely. Number 3. Avocados. Avocado lovers, you're in for a rude awakening. By May 2025, the creamy, nutrient-packed fruit you toss on toast or blend into smoothies might be out of reach entirely. Avocado production is caught in a downward spiral, with no easy way out. California, which accounts for nearly 90% of U.S. avocado production, is suffering from brutal drought conditions. Water allocations have been slashed, and without enough water, avocados simply can't grow. Farmers are abandoning groves left and right because it's just not worth the cost. This isn't a year-to-year variation, it's systemic failure. The state has already reported a shocking 30% drop in yield compared to last year alone. What about Mexico? It's the world's largest avocado exporter, right? Well, shipments from Mexico to the U.S. are slowing to a crawl. Labor shortages, cartel violence in key growing regions, and stricter border inspections have turned avocados into a logistical nightmare. Simply put, fewer avocados are making it across the border, and when they do, they come with a hefty price tag. On top of that, rising global demand is putting even more strain on the supply chain. With health-conscious diets like keto and plant-based lifestyles exploding in popularity, avocados are becoming a must-have item for millions of people worldwide. But by mid-year, analysts are warning prices could jump by 40–60%. That kind of increase isn't just frustrating for many families, it'll make avocados unaffordable altogether. What can you do? Plan ahead. If avocados are part of your diet, start stocking up now while they're still semi-affordable. Here's a tip most people don't consider. Ripe avocados can be diced, vacuum-sealed, and frozen. They hold up well in the freezer for things like smoothies, guacamole, and spreads. It's a simple, effective solution to ensure you're not left out when the shortage hits hard. And for those who want to pivot, consider alternatives. Healthy fats like nuts, seeds, or even olive oil may not be the same as that perfectly ripe avocado, but they'll help bridge the gap until the market recovers, which won't happen anytime soon. Thinking ahead now is the only way to avoid paying $4.00 a piece, assuming there are any left to buy. Number 4. Cocoa and chocolate products. For all the chocolate lovers out there, this might be your worst nightmare. By May 2025, getting your hands on chocolate could be as rare as striking gold. Why? The lifeblood of chocolate production, cocoa, is in the middle of a total collapse. Over 70% of the world's cocoa is grown in just 4 West African countries, and 2 of them, Ghana and Ivory Coast, are reeling from the worst drought seen in 30 years. Farmers are watching cocoa trees wither and die faster than they can replant them. I've spoken to growers who've lost almost half their crops in one season, and even if Mother Nature gave them a break, labor shortages are making a bad situation even worse. Farming communities that used to power the global cocoa supply are struggling to find workers because younger generations are fleeing to cities. Honestly, who would want to stay? Most cocoa farmers barely make $1 a day. It's no wonder the industry is on its knees. You'd think the companies making billions off chocolate products would have stepped up to stop this, right? Wrong. Their inaction is now hitting your wallet. Chocolate prices are projected to skyrocket by 60% in 2025. That $3.00 bar you buy on a whim, get ready to pay over $5.00 for it. And dark chocolate? Good luck. The higher the cocoa content, the faster it flies off shelves. Premium items like cocoa powder and chocolate chips for baking are disappearing before our eyes. What can you do? Stock up now. Dark chocolate has a long shelf life if stored correctly. Keep it in a cool, dry spot and you can enjoy your stash well into next year. If you love baking, grab cocoa powder before prices double. Alternatives like carob powder might soon be your new best friend. But trust me, nothing compares to real chocolate. Bottom line, if chocolate is part of your happiness, act before it becomes a luxury your budget can't handle. Number 5. Citrus fruits. Picture this: your breakfast without orange juice, your cocktail without a wedge of lime. Sounds grim, doesn't it? Well, it's time to brace yourself because citrus fruits are in serious trouble worldwide. Florida, once the orange capital of the U.S., has seen its groves gutted by a nightmare disease called citrus greening. Known scientifically as Honglungbing or HLB, this bacterial infection spreads through tiny insects and is unbelievably lethal to citrus trees. There's no cure, no fix, no way to stop it. Trees that have thrived for decades suffer a slow death, starting with producing sour, inedible fruit before eventually withering away. Over 70% of Florida's orange groves have been wiped out since the disease showed up. And it's not just oranges we're talking about. Lemons, limes, tangerines, even grapefruits aren't safe. Climate change is just making it worse. Unexpected frost crushed California's lemon crops last year, while record-breaking heat waves in Europe devastated their citrus farms. Combined, this creates a supply problem that no one can sidestep. And it's not like we can rely on imports. Brazil, the backup when U.S. and European citrus takes a hit, is choking under its own climate and water shortages. Their orange juice harvest is the smallest in decades. You'll start to notice it soon. Fewer options, higher prices. Forget paying $5.00 for a bag of oranges. By May, prices could easily triple, if they're even available. How do you get ahead of this mess? Think smart. I've frozen lemon juice and zest in ice cube trays. A cube lasts forever and works in any recipe. Other substitutes like sumac or apple cider vinegar can mimic the same acidity in salads and marinades. If you have room, consider growing a small citrus tree indoors. Vitamin C supplements are also worth adding to your prep list. Will this shortage last forever? No. But it's going to hit hard and fast, and you don't want to be caught paying $15.00 for lemonade this summer when you could have planned ahead. Number 6. Wheat products. Bread, pasta, bagels, crackers. Do you eat any of these? If so, listen up, because wheat products as we know them are on the brink of disappearing. Ukraine and Russia aren't just at war, they're dragging the global wheat market down with them. Together, they account for about 30% of the world's wheat exports. But with new sanctions, escalating conflicts, and blocked supply routes, another 15% of global exports are off the table. Even outside the war zone, the picture looks grim. The U.S. wheat belt is failing. Kansas is down nearly 50% in production compared to last year. Fields that should be bursting with golden grain are scorched thanks to relentless drought. Farmers I've talked to are devastated. Whole families are walking away from the wheat game, switching to crops that are easier to grow in these brutal conditions. Canada's wheat outlook isn't better. Wildfires last summer wreaked havoc on their fields, leaving soil too damaged to produce anything viable without insanely expensive fixes. The result is already hitting your wallet. Bread prices surged 22% in the first quarter alone, and the worst is yet to come. Pasta, one of the most mass-produced wheat products, is being hit with stealthy shrinkflation. Those boxes of spaghetti you used to buy, compare their size. Many brands have quietly reduced their packages to 12 ounces while keeping the same price. Or worse, bump the price up too. The domino effect is everywhere. Bakeries are raising prices, restaurants are cutting portions, and pizza places are thinning their crusts to compensate. The strategies businesses are using to weather this shortage are painfully obvious, and at some point, they won't be enough. How do you protect yourself? Start by stocking up. Flour keeps well if stored in airtight containers, in a cool, dry place. Or better yet, look into buying whole wheat berries and a small grain mill. Grinding flour yourself may sound crazy now, but it could save you from sky-high prices or empty store shelves. Looking for alternatives? Cassava and almond flour are great for baking, and chickpea pasta is a solid replacement for traditional noodles. The hard reality is that this wheat crisis isn't going away anytime soon. Climate shifts, poor yields, and escalating demand mean we're in this for the long haul. Adapt now, or be unprepared when your pantry staples disappear. Number 7. Coffee. Your morning coffee is on its way to becoming a luxury you might not afford much longer. Picture this: your favorite cup of joe skyrocketing in price or disappearing completely. This isn't an exaggeration, it's a harsh reality that's closing in fast. The world's largest coffee producer, Brazil, is facing an agricultural disaster. A brutal mix of drought and unpredictable rainfall has crushed their coffee belt, with some regions reporting up to 40% crop losses in just 2 years. And don't count on other countries to pick up the slack. Vietnam, the second biggest coffee producer, specializing in Robusta beans used in instant coffee, is battling rising temperatures and water shortages. Then there's Colombia and Ethiopia, both iconic coffee-growing regions now struggling with skyrocketing fertilizer prices, civil unrest, and worker shortages. While farmers are fighting tooth and nail to keep these beans coming, the supply chain is unraveling. Here's the kicker. Global coffee demand is still climbing. More people working remotely means more at-home brewing, pushing consumption higher than it's been in decades. What happens when supply crashes and demand soars? Simple. Prices explode. Premium coffee beans are already priced double in some cities, and by May 2025, analysts predict a further 30–40% increase. Don't be surprised when your favorite roast costs $20.00 a bag, assuming you can even find it. And shipping isn't helping. Coffee is a global commodity that heavily relies on seamless transportation. Rising fuel prices, container shortages, and backed-up ports mean fewer beans are making it to store shelves. Some shipments are stranded at sea for weeks, and by the time they arrive, the costs have already spiked. Here's what to do. Stock up now. Buy vacuum-sealed beans or freeze-dried coffee in bulk. Store them somewhere cool to stretch their shelf life. If you prefer freshly brewed coffee, invest in whole beans and a grinder, as ground coffee loses its flavor faster. Explore regional roasters. Smaller businesses might maintain better supply chains during a crisis. Lastly, cut back now to help your stash last longer. Skipping a cup today could make all the difference when prices triple in the future. Don't think you'll outrun this shortage. Prepare now, or you'll be staring at an empty shelf while the caffeine withdrawals hit. Number 8. Olive oil. Think of olive oil as your kitchen MVP. It's in dressings, sautés, marinades, even baking. Well, brace yourself because this staple is slipping away fast. Olive oil is predominantly produced in the Mediterranean, with Spain leading the pack, boasting nearly half the global supply. But here's the issue. Spain's olive groves are drying out, facing what many are calling the worst drought in recorded history. Rain needed to sustain the trees isn't showing up, while heat waves are cooking the soil. The results? Catastrophic. Last season production was down by over 50%. By early 2025, projections are bleak, with harvests showing no sign of recovery. Climate conditions are stressing the trees into producing fewer olives, while some groves are being abandoned altogether. Italy, another olive oil heavyweight, isn't doing much better. Severe weather swings and water scarcity are hammering their farmers too. This isn't just bad news for Europe, it's a global problem. Lesser-known producing regions like Tunisia and Greece are struggling with similar issues, creating a ripple effect in the market. Prices for extra virgin olive oil have doubled in some areas, and shortages are pushing manufacturers and retailers to either limit stock or blend in cheaper oils, reducing quality. By May, expect even higher prices and even fewer options. What should you do? Stock up immediately. Look for dark glass bottles or metal cans, as they protect the oil from light and extend shelf life. Properly stored olive oil can last up to 2 years, so now's the time to invest in a few extra liters. If prices start to soar in your area, consider alternatives like avocado oil or sunflower oil. These substitutes work well for most uses, though the flavor and health profiles differ slightly. The key is to act now. Once panic sets in and consumers start hoarding, the shelves will clear out faster than you can imagine. Olive oil shortages might sound unlikely to some, but those in the know will recognize what's coming. Don't wait until the last bottle on the shelf costs $50.00. Be smart about it. Number 9. Certain spices. This is one people don't see coming. Think spices are safe? Think again. Spices might not be at the top of your grocery list, but trust me, they will be one of the first things to disappear in this chain of shortages we're seeing. The issue boils down to geography and logistics. Over 70% of the world's spices are cultivated in just a few countries, including India, Indonesia, Vietnam, and China. All of these nations are currently grappling with serious challenges. Take India, for instance. Last year, freak weather conditions destroyed nearly a third of their turmeric crop. Meanwhile, Vietnam, the go-to for black pepper, is seeing shipping delays so severe that many exporters have halted operations entirely. Even minor spices like cumin and coriander are getting hit hard. Farmers are shifting priorities to focus on staple crops that offer better yields, leaving spices sidelined. On top of this, spices rank low in global trade priorities. Food staples like grains and proteins take precedence when shipping containers are scarce, which means spice shipments often get delayed or canceled outright. Inflation and rising energy costs only add to the mess, making spices more expensive to grow, process, and transport. By the time they land at your store, you're already paying a premium for whatever's left. What can you do? Stock up on essentials. Start with black pepper, which is notoriously vulnerable to shortages. Then move on to turmeric, cumin, cinnamon, and cloves if those are staples in your cooking. These aren't just culinary luxuries, they're critical for flavoring the shelf-stable foods you'll be relying on if other shortages get worse. Some spices even have medicinal properties, like turmeric's anti-inflammatory benefits. Store your spices wisely to extend their shelf life. Airtight jars kept in a cool, dark place can make them last a lot longer than the average pantry setup. And consider alternatives for when favorites like black pepper become too pricey. Sumac, for instance, can add a tangy punch to dishes, and smoked paprika can substitute for cumin in some recipes. The bottom line? Don't wait until a small jar of cinnamon costs $15.00. Be proactive. Number 10. Dairy products. Got milk? By May, the answer might be no. Dairy is set to be one of the hardest-hit food categories in the coming months. Prices are already spiraling and availability is dropping fast. Everything from butter to specialty cheeses is turning into a scramble. Here's why. First, feed costs for dairy cattle have exploded. The grains needed to sustain herds, like corn and soy, are in short supply due to global crop failures, and prices are hitting record high. Add rising fuel and energy costs to run dairy farms, and you've got a situation where it's becoming nearly impossible for small and mid-sized farmers to stay in business. Over 2,000 family dairy farms closed in just the past 6 months. Then there's heat stress. Dairy cows are sensitive to temperature, and with extreme heat waves becoming more frequent, milk production is down 17% in major dairy regions. Farmers are sinking thousands into cooling systems just to keep cows alive, and still the numbers aren't adding up. It's no surprise heavy cream, organic milk, and imported cheeses are vanishing from stores more quickly than we realize. The situation gets worse when you factor in transport. Dairy is highly perishable, requiring refrigeration at every step in the supply chain. Rising fuel costs and worker shortages are causing massive bottlenecks, leaving store shelves looking emptier by the day. Expect major price spikes for everything from yogurts to butter, or worse, find those temporarily out of stock signs popping up consistently. What can you do? 2 things. First, use your freezer. Butter freezes beautifully, and powdered milk is a great backup for emergencies. Second, explore plant-based options like almond milk or oat milk. They're not perfect substitutes, but they'll keep your pantry stocked. If you wait until prices double or options disappear altogether, you'll regret it. Milk shortages aren't just about inconvenience. For many, dairy is a staple in their diet, and losing access can feel overwhelming. Plan now so you're not left scrambling when things get even worse. Preparing for potential shortages doesn't have to be daunting, but it does require action. By stocking up on key items now and exploring alternatives where possible, you can avoid unnecessary stress and ensure your household is ready. Remember, proactive planning is the best way to stay ahead and maintain peace of mind, no matter what the future brings.